Draw down. See who all hops on right off the bat. Grab the hammers we're going to be working with. Good for this. See who ends up popping on first here. There's everybody. What's up, Duck? What's up, Mule? What's up, Crab? What's up, Straight? Got the piece of steel in the forge. Turn this fan down just a little bit. Got some 80 CRV2. Nice. I'm working with 1080 on this project. Now, I've been talking to Mule about this because we were trying to figure out exactly which type of profile that I'm going to be doing of his. And we kind of came to a conclusion on one of them. I drew it out a little bit, just a little rough sketch. This again is just a rough sketch. So we're going to do a swedge on this one that I'm doing with his profile, one of the profiles that he's done in the past. So a swedge. And then I'm going to end up doing his little drop down guard type thing that he does. So this is going to come down past the cutting edge, a little bit further than what you see right here. And we're going to be doing a finger choil, a little bit of contour on the handle, but nothing like super crazy where I have like the pinky choil that I normally do. So, what's up, Rick? What's up, Jason? So we're going to be doing that profile right there and this one. Now, one of the things that Mule has suggested was possibly doing a integral for this, like an integral bolster. Because of that little drop down in front of the finger choil, that kind of guard, that doesn't really lend itself to being an integral bolster build. Because typically whenever you use something that's going to have an integral bolster, there isn't that guard piece built into it at that bottom piece. Doing the transition from that thickness of an integral bolster into a cutting edge, it wouldn't be a very functional knife. You want that bottom section to be nice and thin so you can get it into areas and stuff like that instead of having a thick integral bolster width right there. And I'm not huge into bringing, like some people do bolsters that are peened on that go all the way down almost to the cutting edge. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like the way that looks. So it wouldn't make sense that I would make something like that. So, yes. The guard was the integral part. Yeah, so if you end up doing this piece right here, because of how close you get that to the edge, if there was a big division between this section, because on yours you'll have about 1/4 of an inch to sometimes 3/8 of an inch between this section and your cutting edge. If there was a bigger section, or if there was a transition into that, like a sharpening choil or a big transition, almost like a buoy or something, it'd be one thing. But with the way that this thickness would come down, it would be bulky right here, right behind the cutting edge. If there's not a big enough space, what's up, Steve? If there's not a big enough space between this piece and the cutting edge, you have too much bulk in this section. So the amount of forging that I would have to do to get this to come down and then to taper from this down into the thickness of the blade, you would have really weird transition lines. So where the actual area from the integral bolster would neck down into that blade, typically on an integral bolster, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Typically on an integral, this section, that big bulky section, is pretty far away from the cutting edge, so that you're able to taper this down. If I had a press and I could do a press, clink, and I could absolutely just crush that section and create almost a 90-degree angle, that would be a lot easier to do. But because I'm having to forge it by hand, I'm always going to have this slight area right here where it rolls down into that. If I had a press, that bad boy would get pinched, crank, and you would have that sharp transition. But you can't do that on a hammer and anvil. It becomes really rough trying to get those super angular transitions without going in and grinding it later. Yeah, it's a little bit different whenever you forge it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start forging in the tip on this. I'm going to use my handy dandy big chomper tongs that I made a long time ago by just welding stuff together. And we'll go ahead and bring y'all down a little bit more. Zoom y'all in just a hair. About right there, should be good. Go ahead and grab this out of here and start swinging the hammer. All I'm going to be working on is the corners for this, just real quick. Not going to get too crazy while it's still developing heat in there. I literally lit the forge as I was getting this started. Any dishes this evening? I hope y'all don't mind. Hey, no, do your thing. Duck will probably be doing the dishes in about 30 minutes. So, you're good. Alright, so whenever I think through the thought process of doing a build like this, where I'm going to be forging in a few different steps into the process instead of doing stock removal, things that we got to think about. How much of the swedge profile do we want to forge into this project? How much of that little drop down to the heel, that little guard piece, do we want to forge into the project? Do I want to get this as close to forge to profile as possible, or do I want to be able to do some of that stuff through stock removal? Now, that's going to be a different thought process for a lot of different people. For me, because I'm doing this as a demonstration on YouTube, I'm going to go through and I'm going to forge it as close to profile as possible so that you can see what can be done in the forging process. But you can easily forge this to rough profile. That way you are able to maximize your amount of steel. So you could actually forge this to within a quarter of an inch or a half an inch of the actual profile. and then take your stencil that you're going to draw out on a piece of paper, slap it on there, mark around the outside, grind the rest of it away, and be good. I'm going to show y'all as close to forged to profile as possible. Again, just so that you can see that it is possible. Now, things that you have to think about. Okay, so there's two things that counteract each other here in the actual hand forging process. So whenever you're trying to impact this side's going to get impacted. So whenever you're forging this side, something's going to be rebounding and hitting this side all the way down as you do this. Whenever you're forging in this finger choil, a lot of times you're hammering from here, or you're flipping it over and you're hammering into this area. So whenever you are thinking through how you're going to forge something and what's going to be stock removal versus what's going to be forged, you got to think through this. If I'm going to have a bump up here and a bump down here, how am I going to get that if I've got to put this section on the anvil and forge in here? Because by default, when you're trying to decrease the space here, create this step up here, and create a step up here, those are going to counteract each other. As you're hammering here, this is going to get hit. As you're hammering here, this is going to get hit. So you got to think through how you're going to manage that material if you want to try and do a forged profile on this. These two spaces right here don't want to exist on a forging project. It's a lot easier to forge a profile that has a straight shot. Whenever you do bump outs, it becomes a pain in the butt. So we've got to think through how we're going to end up doing that. How we're going to do that process and be able to forge it. And I'll answer your question here in just a second, Shreek. Unless somebody else has an answer for it. Okay. Back in on the corners, hanging the piece slightly off the anvil. Come in at the corner. And right behind the edge. We're just going to slowly pinch this out. What's going to end up happening is this is going to be the tip, and we're just going to slowly pinch that out so that we don't end up with duck lips. This area is just going to move itself out like that as we go. And all I'm doing is I'm hanging the edge off the anvil like this. I'm hammering here and here. That way this piece gets pushed outwards as we're forging. Okay, so let's see what you got here. What about clay or sand or something? Yeah, and I'll tell you, if I was trying to really isolate this, then I would probably go that route. But I think that what I can do is leave material in certain spots that are slightly thicker as I deform this. So as I really start moving the material, if I can leave the spine section that's going to be that swedge slightly thicker, whenever I come in, I can come in with a straight peen or cross peen, and I can pinch it down, and I can pull a slight taper on there or a slight bevel and move that material out a little bit and create that swedge. Same thing for that little heel that's going to be that guard. Taking that and be able to pull it out. I should be able to do something like that. It's just thinking through, again, where am I going to put material and manage the actual material in the forging process. A lot of what I do are going to be blacksmith techniques that I've never been taught, that I'm just calling blacksmith techniques, and they just happen to pop into my brain, and knife making techniques. I would consider them blacksmithing techniques more than knife making techniques, because you're not really, you know, I don't know, it could be bladesmithing, but it's a lot of material management, and you do a lot of that within blacksmithing. All right. I'm happy that it's not super hot outside right now. It's still warm, but not super hot. So a little drop down, take that. Forge that out. You might be thinking to yourself, Eric, you might accidentally create little fish lips. On this next heat, you're going to see that absolutely change profile. And the big reason why I'm doing the tip first, because sometimes y'all see me do this, and I'll forge the handle profile first, or I'll forge the tip first. Basically, I'm doing the tip for this so that I have something to hold on to with my box jaw tongs. I want to narrow that front end so I can hold it and really be able to get after it for the rest of the profile. So I'm going to end up forging the tip, bringing that area down just a little bit, and then go from there. Yeah, it was beautiful weather earlier today, but once it cleared up, it got muggy and it got warm. So it's probably about, I think it's only in the high 80s here right now, but it's still plenty spicy. So I was watching another person who does blacksmithing, and he was doing a live stream today, forging just random blacksmithing projects, is like leaves and little knots and things like that. And I thought that was pretty cool little projects. Me personally, I would prefer to forge blades rather than forge a whole bunch of the random things. It might have been Black Bear. I'm pretty sure it was Black something, and I don't know if he has forging or smithing or something like that in his channel name, but he was doing really good. I liked what he was doing, and anytime that I see somebody else doing projects like that, I just think it's awesome. You got to remember to wear safety glasses. I have safety glasses all the time, so that's the reason why I get them this size. A lot of glasses you buy nowadays are super small, and I get them to where they're wider and taller, and these are Oakleys. They're shatter resistant and all that crap. No forging because you don't feel good? That sucks. Man, there's a whole bunch of people that are not feeling good right now. I got friends and friends of family getting West Nile over here in Texas right now. It's crazy. Finish that out a little bit. I am ready for it to get enough heat into it and start thinning out so that the heat stays in it longer. What's up, Hudson? Yeah, we have like I said, we have a bunch of people in this town that, I say a bunch, it's been like 6 people that are getting like West Nile virus and stuff. It's crazy. My next door neighbor's dad got it from mosquitoes. One of the guys that worked with me at the RV dealership that I worked at, yeah, he got it. Like, what? This is nuts. Banister forge thickness. I'm really excited to see how all that stuff ends up turning out, Steve. Steve have been, we text pretty often, and I think his build for this next challenge is going to be really cool. How bad are the mosquitoes? They are horrible in my town. Absolutely horrible. Like it's crazy. Like the amount of mosquitoes, if you have like any type of water sitting anywhere, they will breed mosquito babies anywhere. It could be a cup of water or like any bucket or anything. That's where they're putting eggs. I think I might have to turn the fan a different direction. I feel like it's cooling everything down too fast. We are going from 2-inch tall stock to there. Now that fan shouldn't be blowing anywhere on here. We are going from 2-inch tall stock down to a point, by the way. Spicier version of a cold. You got a spicy cold. The joys of growing your hair out. You're always in this like weird, awkward phase of your hair length. That's a great question, Steve. What is everybody working on? What's up, Carter? That's awesome, man. Now you do jewelry. That's really cool. Sit there, work on it. Looks like a dolphin right now. Like a little short-nosed dolphin. This. Been on vacation, then sick, huh? Got a lot of cool chef's knives. That's awesome. I'll have to check that out. And I've been just working, trying to stay cool out here. Of course, working on this dragon scale knife. So the thought process that I had was I was going to go ahead and etch it and do all of that stuff. But then I remembered that I have to do an integral handle, so an integral bolstered type handle. And I'm going to have to make sure that everything fits up before I go through and do the etching that I'm going to be doing, because I can't really mess with some of this stuff after the etching, because if I mess up any of that part of it by clamping it into something or whatever and I mar it up, there's no real way to fix it. So I have to get some way through the handle process in order to then be able to do the etching process. And I'm trying to figure out how that goes into a video, because it's not exactly a completion of either step. It's just like a half step for two final things. So I got to do a half step for the handle and then a half step for the finish. And it's like, if that's a video, it's not technically a completion of anything. You know, when we do the heat treating or the bevels or whatever, you get to see what it's going to look like. This is just, well, I got halfway to be able to work on this thing and halfway to being able to work on this thing. Y'all don't know what they're going to look like, but we're just halfway there. So it's trying to figure out how to get all that stuff together. So that's where our ugly point is right now. Now I've got to squeeze all of this area here, because this blade's going to get taken down to almost half the size, height-wise, that it is right now. So we are good with the point as it is. This next bit of forging, we're just going to do a whole bunch of forging here and stretching it out. By default, all of that is going to work down into that tip. So the big thing that I wanted to do was just make sure that we had a point. It didn't need to be pretty. It just needed to be pointed and not have like a fish lip style thing to where it could create a cold shut at some point. You don't want that. So you just needed to get enough point. Now I'm going to end up, right now we're set up like a big wedge. We're going to bring that down and back and actually kind of create a blade profile, and by default it's going to end up working into that point. Yeah, you mostly do blades, but Steve is also the guy who made my power hammer. Yeah, so like the power hammer, Steve Jennings made that. Bring just about a little bit right there. So he does a little bit of everything. All right. Get that brought back up to temp. Right. Let's grab this thing. Once I get done doing this next step, I can flip it around and start working on the handle. Continue to bring that in. A lot of the length that we're going to get out of this particular project is going to come from forging in the handle profile. So when we start forging in the handle profile, all the material that we pinch to create the finger choil and the actual handle, we're going to go from 2 inches down to about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches, depending on the certain areas. So all that material that makes up the rest of that 2 inches has got to go somewhere. It's going to go to length, and that'll give us our handle length. So all we got to do now is finish pinching this blade down a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and I'm going to create the transition from the blade down into that little bump down that creates the guard, and then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to create the choil going into the handle, and that should give us that transition. Roughly, that's the plan. We're going to see how that goes. Right now, I'm still using one burner for this. Of course, I have both burners. You can't even see it up there, but I have both burners on there. It's just for this project, there's no need to be using 2 burners. I'd just be wasting propane at that point. Keep doing a little bit of planishing as you go. You don't need to worry about making it super pretty in this phase. Again, all we're trying to do is get a rough blade profile. That's it. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up holding it onto the edge right here, and I'm going to forge onto the spine, and basically I'm going to create a bump down, and I'll do another one behind it and create a bump up, if that even made sense. Thank you, Miss Rivers, for bringing me a water or four. My wonderful wife brought me something to drink.
Got 3 flavored waters, 3 plain waters in the refrigerator. Going down. You're lucky I didn't grab a pineapple for making them for you.
It is whew. It's hot. What's up, OG? How you doing? Man, it is definitely spicy out here. I was expecting it to be a lot cooler than it is. Man, you would think that the being so hot, that this still would be hot. But it's not. I did not try and rhyme all of that. It just happened. Little Gray Wolf Forge, what's going on? Let's zoom y'all out just a hair. Whew. Man. Staying off camera today. Yeah, she kind of snuck her way in behind the camera and came around here. Man, oh man. I wish I had that fan pointing at me, but if I have the fan pointing at me, it's also pointing at the anvil, and all it's doing is just cooling down the steel super fast. So right now I have it blowing, so it kind of blows the heat out the other door. So it's blowing in through the big door and going out the smaller door. I feel like a whole bunch of people got projects going on right now. I'll use my pointy tongs to get this out of here. There we go. So that's the initial bump down. Now, of course, there's still work to be done to the actual blade profile and everything like that. But that's the initial bump down that's going to create that spot right there. Back in there. The downside to these tongs being so short is they get hot real quick. I gotta toss them in the slag bucket pretty often. Cool them off. Man, I am sweating up a storm. I don't know if you can see this. You can see the how shiny my skin is right now. It is like I'm just drenched. Lots of sweat. Where I can breathe. Not so good as yours. And yeah, it is a combination of a few of Mule's knives. Yeah, it was fantastic earlier today. I don't understand how it's later in the day. Of course, tomorrow's supposed to be in the hundreds, so we'll see how that goes. But it was absolutely beautiful outside earlier today. I know what happened. The weather was like, Eric's supposed to be out in the shop forging. Cold weather, go away. Replenish back up. So the only thing that I'm going to do prior, so you see right now we have that bump down blade profile, because I'm probably going to do the bevels on this stock removal. I'm probably going to go ahead and forge the actual blade profile. So what I'm going to need to do there is, of course, turn it over on its spine. I'll zoom the camera in whenever I do this. Turn it over on the spine, forge on the cutting edge, and just drop this down. So we'll put it back in the forge, heat it back up. Only reason why I want to grind in the bevels versus doing forged bevels is the way his profile looks. It really leans itself to a nice sharp plunge line. So I want this plunge line, because I'm not going to do a full grind. I'm going to do kind of in between a saber and a full. There's going to be some flats up here, but I want a nice deep plunge line as a transition between this and this. So I could forge them in, but I want that deep, crisp plunge line going into that, because I really like I think that a transition like this right here, going from that forged texture here to the forged flats that are going to be on there, I think that that transition with that bump down is going to look really cool. And if I forge it, you lose that nice deep plunge. And I feel like that stands out a ton whenever you're doing that. So for me, I want to do that as opposed to forge them in. And y'all see me forge bevels a ton. Y'all know I can forge them in my sleep. It's not through lack of ability. So there is our rough blade profile. Where it curves up, that's your cutting edge. This is going to end up coming up to the swedge. This little bump up will make more sense whenever I start forging in the finger choil right behind it. But we don't want to get too far in the actual blade forging process. We want to go through and start forging that handle because we're going to move a bunch of material, making that rectangular square looking thing look like a handle. But now we can go ahead and switch tongs and go with the box jaw and turn that into a handle. Probably going to switch to the slightly narrower ones. Yep, narrow one's going to be the move on that. So, like always, whenever you get into the next step of this, where we actually start forging that handle profile, that's when this is actually going to go from, well, what could be a forged leaf project, because it just has a taper to it, and turns it into a knife profile. So the next few steps are going to be the things that actually make it look like a knife. Randomly across the channel. Yesterday, try first edge and pointers. I would take and mix your ferric chloride 50-50 with the ferric and distilled water. So however much ferric you have, I would dilute it 50%. So if you have a quart of ferric chloride, I'd get a quart of distilled water, mix them into one container, and be good with it. Could you forge up about 1/2 inch plunge line and then grind it in? And correct, exactly what Duck said. I get all of my tongs from Iron Dungeon Forge, and they're awesome. I do 50-50 on my mixture with the ferric chloride. Yeah, Jim, just reach out. We'll talk about it. Yeah, and coffee is a wonderful way to get it super dark. All right. So now, hang it off the edge. I'm going to come from the other side actually. Hang it off the edge. My goal is here, what I'm going to do while I'm doing this, let's make sure we're good here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to forge in this finger choil. I'm going to be hitting back here. And I'm hoping what it's going to do is it's going to force this material in and create my swedge. So I'm going to counteract the 2 points and try and do both jobs at one time. That's the goal at least. We're going to see how that goes. Stand. Yep. Tools. And then good stuff is affordable. Yeah, I mean, I always say go with the people that you like working with. Me personally, one of the things that I like about these is I like how the tines are tapered down. I like how thin they are. I do like the Vevor ones because they are, you know, they're super smooth and got a good grip on them. So I do like those. The ones that I don't like are the ones that are like this right here. And I might end up forging these down differently. But I'm not a big fan of the ones that are shaped like this right here. Like that is not comfortable on your hand. So what I'm going to probably end up doing is reforging this section and slightly rounding them or welding on a piece of bar. But I just don't like this particular style tying on there. I like this. It's actually comfortable. You got less fatigue with your hands. Me, it's just a personal preference. Back at an angle. I'm just going to heat it back up, and we're going to keep doing that. And I think this will end up working out real well. Let's see here. See what y'all are saying here. Tried recently itching orange juice. I haven't tried orange juice at all. Is there such thing as too many hammers? No, there is not. This isn't even all my hammers. This is just the main ones that I use. Right there. Mild steel, length is up to you. Pro tip, even if the tongs are mild, still quench them. Correct. So swords that we make whenever we are at the Dragon Forge experience, those get quenched even though they're mild steel. Got another set of tongs from Amazon for square stock. Nice. Just concentrate for the orange juice. It's like pulp free. See, I like ones that work with both box. So square stock, I like these because these work with square stock and round stock. These are the Vivor tongs. But I like that they have the square cut out on the side and through the tip. These also really lend themselves to working with railroad spikes. And then the offset square ones. Again, Vivor, man. Just making some good looking little tongs right there. Gotta give them credit for that. Alright, let's get back after it. So one of the things, y'all might be wondering it, y'all might not be wondering it at all. You might be wondering why I started further back if this little bump is not a very big bump. And that's because just in case forging this material here, just in case that tries to pull this up with it, I wanted to make sure I had enough material going into it. Okay, what are y'all saying there? Yeah, the Vivor anvils, perfectly fine. We use those at the Dragon Forge experience too, but that guy right there is their like 130 pound Vivor anvil. I use that all the time. So it's pretty amazing what you can get from these random little companies nowadays. Dude, my fingernail just saved me from burning my finger whenever I was pointing at it the last time. But all I could smell is basically like burnt hair because my fingernail touched it, but my finger didn't, luckily. All I smelled was like burnt fingernails. Okay, so on the next heat, what we're going to do is we're going to start forging this area down. So we're going to end up putting it on the side of the anvil, just how we have been doing it, but where I've been at a steep angle like this. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. We're going to start forging all the way down the spine here. And we're going to pinch that area and just start pulling that down, and then we'll work on that some more after that. And then it's going to start looking like a knife profile. Yeah, burnt fingernail. Yeah, so you see that right there is where I caught the fingernail, and then that right there is where my finger got just close enough to it that it almost singed it. But luckily, I didn't get burnt there, but I sure did right there where that different coloration is right there. All that just touched the blade. You could hold the blade diagonal and hammer the back of the harpoon. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Mule. You'll well, yeah. Back of the harpoon with the front. Hold on, I'm trying to. So diagonal. I'm trying to think of so instead of vertical. So instead of having the blade like this, have it like this. Or are you talking about keeping it like this? Instead of just going straight into it like this? And no, you can never have too many hammers. Gotta have all the hammers, to include the power hammer. What's up, Craig? By the way, you'll see what I'm about to do. Like, I get what you're saying. Yeah, hold it, blade point down. Yeah. Well, the cool thing is I already have the swedge. The swedge is already forged into it. You'll see what we're about to do right. Chomp. I'm gonna be all over this a little bit. So that's going to be our handle. I'm forging it like this because the reason why I was doing it like this at the initial was because what I wanted it to do was squeeze the material out towards the handle, and then I wanted to be able to slightly move it like this, get after it, and I wanted that to push the material out the center and create this little bump. You'll see as we forge that, that's going to end up creating that little back section of that handle. Yeah, like on the corner of the anvil. I see what you mean. I had to think it through for a second there. It's just the camera. So what ends up happening is the camera tries to compensate for what it thinks is incorrect lighting. So in the process of trying to beautify things, or make things look better or smoother or in the right contrast, it tries to overcorrect those things, and you can't really tell the different colors. It's trying to make things perfect. And there's no way for me to really take that away from the camera. It's just self-editing as we're doing this. But yeah, it's always hotter than what it looks. Well, there's a thing that changes. So sometimes, whenever I pull it out, to me, it's just kind of orange, but on the camera, it's glowing yellow. So there's times whenever the camera makes it look like it's way hotter than it actually is because the lighting's blown out in that one spot. Then it does the opposite whenever it starts cooling down, and it kind of grays it out, especially with the lights and all that, but it's still glowing like red to me. Like this is a dull orange to me. That's a dull orange. But to y'all, that bad boy is bright. Okay, calm down. Get the hole. There we go. A little bit of planishing as we go. Don't get so focused on it. Let's see here. I haven't received the antler yet, but we'll see for the Ulu. Yeah, it's yellow. That's pretty much how I say, well, do I say yellow? 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 I also say color. Color? Weird. Color? I don't say color. I say color. It's, yeah, I've got a weird accent. My family's from a lot of different places. It's like Texas, Louisiana, whatever else we have thrown in there. Get back up into that finger soil area. So I'm going to show you something. Down here, gray. And that's the actual heat on it right now. But down here, it's gray. Up there, you can see where actual cold versus heat is. I do say cooler, but it's cool. Virginia, North Carolina. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I don't know. That might actually sound pretty okay to me. but moved to North Carolina. That's cool. Northern Southern accent. That is just confusing. Mix of Jersey, Russian, and mostly Southern? What the heck is that? But do you say a boot? Do you say about or do you say a boot? Are you at a boot or are you about? Now see how that's worked out so far? We got our bump down here. We got our swedge going there. So I think that's going to work out real well. And of course, we're only getting things so the handle will be about 75% done, 80% done whenever we are done with this phase of it. And then we'll go into working on the blade a little bit more, really refining that profile. And then we'll go back in and we'll blend the handle and the blade all together. And it should look real good. So I think it's going to be perfect. Break it into the second water. All right. Grab this back out. Keep going. Starting to get a knife profile out of that. I know that I need to come back because this step down's the width of my fist. I need to come back about another, I'm gonna say about another ½ an inch, and I'll have all the length that I need. So mule. On your handles, how much of your handle goes past the end of your hand? Is it pretty much right at the end of your hand, or do you have a little bit of extra handle material that sticks out past the end of where your pinky is right there? So does it go slightly past it? Is it just your fingers directly on it, and that's the whole handle length? I need to know how long I need to make this handle. Because like right now, this one is about the length of my hand. So just go about that much past, about 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch past. Okay, I can do that. Gonna switch hammers. Go with the Fire Creek Forge hammer. If you're wondering why the face has a slight radius to it, which gives me a slight radius to the handle. The cool thing about Two Bastards is, which are of course the handle sponsor, not the handle, a hammer sponsor. So even though I primarily use the Two Bastards hammers, which a lot of my hammers back here are Two Bastards hammers, they're not worried about me using other makers' hammers. Like this is Elijah from Fire Creek Forge. This is the hammer I got from him. I got a couple of his hammers, kind of like a little Thor's hammer, and I enjoy those. I primarily use the Two Bastards hammers. Of course, Frank and Nita, those are the Two Bastards. If you ever need a hammer, you need somebody that can actually walk you through the process of deciding what hammer you should get in contact with them. It's Two Bastards Texas Smithy and Supplies on Facebook, on Instagram, things like that, and they can hook you up with an awesome hammer. Of course, I use the dog head for a lot of things, but they have rounding hammers. They have straight peen cross peens. I like their cross peen straight peen because it's fatter than a normal straight peen cross peen, and whenever you're stretching material, it doesn't put huge dents in it. But even though they're a sponsor, they're not worried about me using other makers' hammers. We're going to use the straight peen cross peen, get inside this finger choil. Should probably switch to the other hammer that I have from them, which is the one that's 4 finger choils. That's a straight peen and a flat. So that lets me create that finger choil with this, which is actually about the same radius as my finger. It's literally what we use these hammers for as knife makers. Is basically stretching material, but also creating the finger choils that we use. Now, me personally, I use this hammer for my integral bolsters because this section of my anvil right here has the same exact radius as the edge of this hammer. So whenever I'm pinching here, it's creating the same radius on both sides as I'm hammering. So it lets me do integral bolsters that way. Pros and cons of the dog head. So a lot of people ask me that. I'm going to show you 2 hammers that are roughly similar sizes. This, of course, is slightly bigger, but this hammer has a short distance between the handle and the face. So whenever I'm over the anvil, if I'm hammering with this, I'm basically touching the face of the anvil. I am quite a bit off the face of the anvil with this hammer. because that distance is created right here. And the nice thing about it is the head is weighted towards the material you're working with. So whenever you're swinging, it automatically wants to index face down. This right here is pretty balanced. It doesn't want to just absolutely index. It can index just as easily this way as this, as this, as this. This indexes one way. It's like having a gyro on your hammer. It just makes you swing face down. And of course, this is a shorter one face-wise. If you went with one like this, this is even further away from the anvil. All right, let's get it back out the forge. Keep going. Like I said, these are the parts that are going to really start making this look like a knife. Bring all over this a little bit. We're just going to gradually get our finger choil and our handle profile there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it from the other side. So for one, our handle right now is pretty much exactly what I need it to be. You can see it hangs off the edge back here. I can actually run that up into the bottom of it. So we got the length that we need, but what I want is I want this section right here to be a little bit more vertical. I don't want it to be as much of a dish as it is, or as round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it from the other side and we're going to forge on it, and we're going to be able to get that looking good. I'm going to do it slightly different than what some people do. So basically, I come in here and I'm going to forge and pull, and it's going to change the radius of that. Okay. No. It's just personal preference. Whenever it comes to dog heads, it's really a personal preference type thing. It is not a one thing makes it better than another. That is just a personal preference for me. Now, of course, my other hammers that I get from, Two Bastards, they've got a nice, decent gap here. Of course, the dog head's from them as well. But it's got a decent gap already. But I'm not going to be hammering a ton like this, but I do hammer on top of the anvil. I do it quite a bit with that hammer. But a lot of the times you're going to be out here away from it. But there'll be times when I'll be fine-tuning things over the top of it. It doesn't happen very often, but there are times when it happens. But yeah, it's a personal preference. These hammers right here, though, you're really close to just by holding it, and it has such a short distance here. If you did need to do something, like if I was trying to come in on this edge here, and I was working on the edge there, possibly gonna have something happen. But really, for me, it's the amount of heat that ends up happening whenever your knuckles get close to the project that you're working with. So if you're forging and your hand is close to the material, even though this hot steel's right here and your hand's a decent-ish way away from it, the heat from that, I don't wear gloves, can get real hot on your knuckles right here, even though you're not over on top of the anvil. With this hammer, because the way I choke up on my handles, I don't swing all the way back here. All my handles, I choke up to about right there, sometimes even right here. I like having that little extra gap here so that whenever I'm working with the steel and it's hot, I don't get a bunch of heat on my knuckles right here. But again, handles will naturally make things index, but some people's hands don't index perfectly with handles. Just because the handle makes it index well doesn't mean your goofy shaped hands are going to let the handle index how it's supposed to index. Something to think about there. Some people have interesting shaped phalanges. I think that's going to end up working. So we're just going to keep doing that. I'm going to do one more heat with that. What I'm trying to do is just smooth this profile. What's going to end up happening by doing this is this section right here is going to end up working its way down. And then whenever I put the overall arch to the spine, it's going to bring the handle up like this and make it even sharper. And you'll see what I mean as we do that. I'll try and, here, let me show you on another knife real quick. We'll do it on the tactical butter knife. So, tactical butter knife. I go through and I forge this little area in, and then I take it, put it on the edge there, get it nice and forged and rounded. And then what ends up happening is the handle gets kicked up right here as I'm forging this area, and it's actually wider. It's more wider. But whenever I take the handle and I pop it down, it makes this angle more acute. And it automatically, boop, gives me a sharper angle just because I took this section that was up here and boop, popped it down. Yeah. Tactical butter knife. Let's see. Backs with my handles flat. Very interesting shape phalanges, yeah. I'll tell you, it's a big thing. Yeah, see, everybody does it their own way. I'll never say that somebody else does the process wrong. I'm going to open up this other door, give myself a little bit more airflow. So let's go ahead and make sure we're good here. I will never tell you that the way you make knives is wrong. If it makes sense for the way that you do the process, that's all that matters. I didn't learn this from anybody. A lot of the stuff that I do, I taught myself. So a lot of it is trial and error and trying to figure things out as I go, seeing what makes sense. That's one of the things that I like doing with my live streams and my videos, is showing y'all what works and what doesn't work, and kind of my thought process behind a lot of the projects that I do, so that we're not sitting there, me telling you it has to be done one way, it has to be done another way. We do a lot of things our own ways and figure it out. So right now, the handle, like I said, is kicked up at an angle. That's not going to be the profile of it. This is going to drop down to almost right here, the center of the handle. And I think that transition is going to look just fine when we get to that point. And of course, I can always do a little bit of stock removal when it's all said and done. But for right now, let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and planish the handle, drop it down, get that looking good, and then we'll go ahead and switch to the blade. And we'll finish the blade profile and all that. Man, I've got so many hammers down here. I always take my hammers and just stand them like that. So all I got to do is walk up and grab the hammer that I'm going to be using and start forging. And then I just put it down. I need to grab another hammer. It's there. They only stay on the stand whenever I'm not using them. Tactical butter and we're good. I think you should do it, Carter. Make something wrong as it falls apart after it's made. I do forge. I actually do a lot of hidden tang knives, but I do a lot of full tangs for the live streams. So yeah, I'll do everything from regular hidden tangs to like this right here. This is a half hidden, so the spine is showing all the way up to this point, and this part goes down into the handle. So that's a half hidden, half exposed tang. One that we forged on the live stream. Little sacks with the forged fuller. But then I also have like real big projects that I do hidden tangs on. I've got all kinds of stuff that I do. A lot of the integral bolster knives that I do are hidden tangs. So pretty much every integral bolster knife that I have is all a hidden tang knives. Or they're all hidden tang knives. Okay, let's flatten this. Get it down to the thickness that we want. Looking pretty good there, thickness wise. Not worried about it being super straight, just trying to get the thickness where it needs to be. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is heat it back up and then take this handle and move it this way. Go ahead ahead and bring one of the lights over here. There we go. I like butter. Same. Church friend is a framed handle buoy. Heck yeah. And yeah, Carter, we have a Discord. Good old Rivers Experience Discord. So you can either try and share it, or if you after this, if you click on my icon and go into my main page and go to the About section, the Discord link is in there. If it doesn't work from this right here, there's a link in the description for my videos, plus there's a link in the About Me page on my home page for my channel. You can get to it either way. Okay, take this. And that creates that sharp angle. So we had it was super wide, and just by taking this handle and dropping it down, now it's more of a sharp angle down, and all I'll need to do is clean up a little bit of this on the 2x72, and that's it. I am going to show y'all the profile, but before I heat it up, I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. So just because you can't see it that well with the different tongs and all that stuff, I want to give y'all an idea of what the blade looks like right now. So we're about in the 75% done of each profile section. But that's where we're at right now. So if you're wondering, does it actually look like a knife? Right now, it absolutely looks like a knife. We got our raised area to where that swedge is going to go, right there. We got our bump out right here. We got our blade profile forged. So that's where we're at right now. Still got some work to do, but it's looking like a knife. My goal for a lot of the live streams is if I can forge it as close to the profile as possible, I'll do that. So that's always the goal, is even though I could forge it and get it roughly within stock removal dimensions, I tend to go through and try and forge it as close to the the design that we kind of started off with as possible, just because if I can, I can. I'll talk to you later, Steve. And so a big thing for me is, even though I can get it to a point to where I can do stock removal and clean everything up, me personally, if I can get it as close to the profile as possible, I feel like I, really got after it, and I practice a lot of hammer techniques. It's just a personal preference for me as I'm going through this forging experience. Okay, we don't want it to have a ton of heat in it, because really we're about to just do some light movements. So this is plenty of heat to be able to do what we're about to do. Just a little bit of contouring. A little bit of planishing. I like that handle profile just slightly a bit more right there. I think that's going to be good once I clean it up a little bit. Plenty of handle length. Planishing. Okay, now we can go ahead and grab it from this side. All we're going to do now is just go in and clean up that blade profile. See you later, Mr. Franchi. First things first, what I'm going to do, let's grab a file. I've got a couple little areas where the tongs have rolled this edge over. I'm going to take and file that off. Before you start forging and all that, and roll that over onto your blade. End up with the weird little cold shut there. Take this one off with the 2x72. Close your ears. Was a lot easier than trying to file that section off. Anyways, all we did there was, again, took a little area that folded over right here from the tongs and right along that same section on the other side from the tongs and down here, so we don't end up forging that back into the blade. What happens is, from where these tongs are rounded right here and here, it will roll that skill over as you're pinching it and forging it, and it's kind of moving in there. It'll roll the edges over, and fold them onto the sides. And if you forge that in, what's going to happen is when you go and you clean up your spine, you're going to end up with a dip whenever that piece of section of that steel that was flapped over and forged in and flakes off, you're going to end up with a dip where that steel was sitting, because it's not going to forge well back into the knife. There's too much forge scale on the knife right now. So you want to clean that part off. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start cleaning up this blade profile. Switch back to the dog head. Go ahead and turn the anvil back. And we're going to start working on the blade profile. Just start cleaning up the transitions and things like that. Clean up the swedge area. Clean up the transition from the cutting edge into that little nub that comes down that creates the guard. Start fine-tuning all of those little areas. We don't want to get too aggressive with it, because what's going to end up happening is whenever you start forging and you move a whole bunch of material, it might move the handle. So let's say we start forging out of the blade, start forging in the center. If you start forging too much on the top, it could end up taking that handle and pushing it up, or on the bottom, push the handle down. All kinds of different things that can happen. And then you have to fix that and correct it. That's why we want to get to about 75% done on each section. So the last 15% that we're going to work on, I know that only adds up to 90%, but you're only ever going to be about 90% done after the forging process. So, something to think about there. Let's see here. Think of a rhombus. What should your maker's mark be? Man, that's a personal thing. Mine is part of my signature. So the signature that I use whenever I'm doing art, my maker's mark is the E from that. So we're going to come in. Clean up this blade profile. I think that's going to work. Getting onto the edge here, right where that little nub comes down. Edge there. Forge into the back of the swedge. Because what I want to do is I want to push this little nub that comes down back a little bit. So it's not as round. I want it to be slightly sharper than that. We'll bring y'all in a little bit more for these parts. So right here, yeah, should be good. Yeah, so mine is the E out of my signature here. And there's a bubble. Y'all can't really see them. But yeah, that is a reversed E. Probably looks normal on this, but if I look at it like this, it's backwards because it is my signature is a reversed E and a forward R for my artwork. And it was a simple maker's mark because whenever I first started making knives, I did them out of, those bubbles are not going to come in here. It's too much of a current. Just trying to blow bubbles into the shop. Nope. It's not happening. Nope. It won't even let her get close to over here. So, whenever I first started making knives and I needed to do an electro etch maker's mark, what I did was I taped off a little square, black fingernail polish on the blade, let it get a little bit tacky, and then I used a pencil and I did my E part of my signature by hand for the first like 30 blades that I made. So the first 30 knives that I made had my actual written E part of my signature on there. Now I have stencils that were made and all that stuff, but yeah. That's the reason why my maker's mark is as simple as it is, because whenever I first started making knives, it needed to be. Starting to get more of the profile that I want. You can come up with your own. Yeah, I agree. What? Yeah, so far. So when it comes to maker's marks and things like that, do something that's personal to you. Don't just, I mean, I say that. There's some people use their last names, some people use their first names, some people use their middle names, some people use their nicknames, some people just think about something that they're interested in and go that route. Like Chip Carlisle uses a Sasquatch for his. You know, he's a Sasquatch believer. He thinks that he saw one or was near one before, and that's a big part of his, you know, his personality. So he uses a Sasquatch. So, what's up, Jason? What do you think about maker's marks, Jason? What's your maker's mark? I don't want this to be a clip point, so I'm trying to really focus on the profile. So that it lends itself to a swedge, but it's not a clip point. I want the spine to come almost straight down to the tip. So to give you an idea of what I'm talking about there, I don't want there to be a bump right here that makes it go straight and then curves down like a normal clip point. I want it to go straight from here down to the point. By the way, Jason, this is what we're forging right now. It's a profile with a mixture of Mule Power Forges profiles that he does. And that's what we're working on. All right. My daughter had to ask me an important question, so I had to go out there and ask her. Not ask her, listen to her. Okay. Let's keep it going. As soon as it heats back up, geez. So what I'm going to have to do with this profile is I'm going to have to go through and move the handle again to keep with the arch that I want. So we'll be good there. Again, this was the rough sketch that I gave myself to start off with. So that was the rough sketch on just my little dry erase board. And I think we're going to be pretty close to that when it's all said and done. You know, we wanted that little bump down. We wanted our area forged so that we can do the swedge up here. I do want to make sure that I have this arch to the spine. Right now it's kind of coming from this area here. It kind of goes straight back. It doesn't have this little cant right here, and I want to make sure it has that. And yeah, if you go to if you click on the link, or like the actual icon to my channel, it'll take you to my About Me page, or to my main page for YouTube. And if you go into the About Me, the Discord is in there. And the only thing that is technically a private channel is the one for the members. But we typically just talk on the main channel. Doing right now is focusing on planishing and getting an even thickness throughout the blade. And then I'm going to take that thickness and even the tang out to it. Okay, so the next phase, what we got to do, grab it back from the blade again, and we got to take this handle and just kind of kick it this way a little bit. Not much, just a little bit, and I'll be happy with that. And then we'll go ahead and planish the handle to be the same thickness and even with the blade, and we'll be good there. And all I do whenever I'm changing the angle, see you later, Carter. So back y'all out a little bit. Whenever I go through and change the angle or the arch to the spine, what I do is I grab the blade from the blade side, just like this, and I take and I put it to where there's a gap right here. So from the step up to the horn, and I will hammer inside the handle area all through here. And what it'll do as I'm moving this right here is it will gradually take this handle section and arch it. It'll bring this whole section up this way because we're hammering and we're closing that gap. We're pushing this material down and closing in this gap that's below the blade there. That's one of the easiest ways to go through and put that arch into your spine of your blade. Without having to really do a bunch of crazy things or anything like that. It doesn't put a whole bunch of stress on the blade. It just lets you slightly adjust it. So you take it, put it on here. Slightly cant it down, just like that. I'm going to switch hammers, get up onto the top of the horn. Clean everything up a little bit. Go back in. All I'm cleaning up is the little notches that get put into the back of the spine of the blade from this edge here. So now, it's subtle, but there's a slight arch all the way through the blade here. So he doesn't have a bunch of big arches to his blades. We'll switch tongs so you can actually see this. So I'm leaving it kind of subtle. So he doesn't typically have a big curve to the spine. So I'm giving it some of my flair, just a little bit more arch, but it's still a pretty straight profile. But we have enough room to dip down for the swedge right here. Boop. Nice curve to the back side like he has. A little bit of a curve, contour in the center here. Finger choil down to that little guard thing that he does, up to a little drop point swedge profile. Yeah, you do a slight arch, but on a lot of mine, it is like whoop. So I wanted to do one that still had some of that, like what you do, but it's not like super curved like a lot of mine. Let's see if I can. So like this. So that is a lot of drop and arch to the spine there. I mean, it's about, from, if you drew a line from here to here, it's probably almost an inch of raise between the two ends there. We can actually check that. Man, I wish I had a shorter straight edge in here. Yeah, here we go. So from the tip, let's bring that tip right on down to the end there. That is how much my arch comes up over the tip and the tail. It's about an inch, between an inch, inch and a quarter of raise. As you can see here, that is an inch right here. So from there to there is an inch. It's about an inch of raise in that arch. Let's see how good my eye measurement is here. I know I've got another little ruler here. Kind of interested to see how accurate my eyes are. We'll just use this little clear one. Oh, clear one's not going to help. My shop is absolutely messy. I know some of y'all are probably thinking that your shops are way messier than mine. Some of you probably think my shop is an absolute nightmare. But I was looking for my little bitty ruler that I have. Anyways, we'll just use another friggin' if you can see that, it is 7/8 of an inch. So you can see we're on the edge there. 7/8 of an inch. So close. I tend to have a pretty decent eye for measuring things. Tongs. Go in with the old auto body hammer, get some planishing going. By the way, this is just a Bondo brand hammer from like 26 years ago. You would have got it with the hammer and a dolly for auto body. That was back when they made you actually bodywork cars instead of just replacing everything. But yeah, all we're doing right now is planishing.
So on this invoice one, you have the two name options, which are the hippocampus and the signathidai.
I can say hippocampus and what now?
Signathidai.
Signathidai. Wow. Steepest one was made probably 3/8 or half inch. What's up, Tornado? Yeah, I think it's starting to look pretty good too.
Those are Latin names. So the Latin name for this invoice is hippocampus, which is from Greek. It's not Latin, it's Greek.
Can you go grab that knife so they can see which knife you're talking about? It's up in the cabinet.
Kitchen?
Yep.
Okay.
Gotta give my daughter a hug.
baby.
If it was up to my kids, they would be in like every live stream that I do. They think it's cool because they watch so many YouTubers. We don't want a bunch of heat in this particular process because we're trying to just smooth it. We're not trying to move a bunch of material. But everything you do right here is going to mean less grinding on the 2x72. Okay, so we're good there. I'm gonna go ahead and heat it up one more time and then planish the blade into the tang and then flip it over. So this right here is the one that we forged last weekend. That's the tactical drop point ringtail knife. You could probably call it a camp knife if you want. But that's the one where we forged the actual ring into it. But yeah, that fits like so good in the hand. For just a super chill little knife. And all of that was just going by eye and what I thought would make sense profile wise and comfort wise. Like, I am really happy with how that turned out. But yeah, that's the one we forged. The only thing that I did with a machine was cleaned all the scale off with a wire wheel on a grinder, and then did the work on the edge. That's it. Yeah, the bike chain karambit thing. Now I'm just planishing the blade like towards the ricasso area into the handle. Just making sure we have a similar thickness. And then get the blade hot and do the same process. I'm pretty happy with the amount of profile we're able to get out of this. Yeah, this the only thing that I kind of want to do is I'm debating on figuring out a different way to do the wrap in this section, because I did do a pinned, I did pin the little tab that comes over, drilled through and pinned over a pin and domed it. So I kind of want to expose that, but I got to figure out a way to make all of that happen. But right now, I really like the way that it is. But again, the only thing that a grinder or like a 2x72 or 1x30 touch was just the cutting edge to put an edge on it. Everything else is exactly how we forged it. And y'all can kind of see how that kind of where the flats go into like a plunge, where it radiuses into that area. Wish I could get a good shadow there, but it just rounds off into here and then up into there. But definitely cool. The tab's definitely crooked. You better believe the tab's crooked. I left it crooked just for you. I was like, you know what, Duck? This tab is for you. What I'm primarily working on as I'm planishing this is the two edges. So the area on the outside here, you can see there's a shadow difference or a color difference between this section here, and that center part. It's doing that because the center part is slightly shallower. So it's thinner in that center part. But we're still thick on the edge of both sides. So we need to planish that down a little bit and get it even with that center part so we don't have that kind of that dish in there. So that's why I'm kind of going around the edge of the perimeter of the profile, and I'm not, you know, really messing with it. Can I forge the guard out? I mean, yeah, I can. I was thinking about doing or trying something, and I don't know if it's going to mess with the profile at all. Longer and less stubby, but you gotta think, I can always change it and mess with it with the stock removal process. But I have an idea of how I can do this. If you want to see me pull that out, I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because why not? We're on a live stream, we're just gonna have fun. Let's zoom you into the little edge of the anvil right here. I'm gonna make sure that I've got the tab in the heat. I'm going to try something out. Just for you. I'm going to grab the old hickory forge cross peen. I don't plan on using the cross peen. I'm just going to use these really sharp square edges here. I don't know. I might use the cross peen. Let's see if I can get it to do this. What I might have to do is put it in the forge, and grab it from the blade side. So let me heat it back up, because what I'm thinking about doing is taking, I could probably do it here, and getting after it like basically like this and hitting here. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to heat the tab up. See if I can't draw that out. Yeah, there's always ways to mess with things. I mean, if y'all want to see me do it, like, why not? And what I could do, I don't want to mar up the finish. I could put it in a vise. If I had a post vise, it'd be a lot easier. But I could put it in a vise, and I could forge into that finger choil area and start pinching it and doing all that. But I think that if I can make this work, then it will be golden. It's either doing that, or coming over here. Yeah, I think this is going to be the better side. So the issue is trying to pinch it and keep it from pushing out right here. Wonder. All this is a process. I wonder if I'm able to grab it here. What's going to be the sweet spot for pinching this? That's going to be the spot. Okay. There's always a way, for the most part. Stick it in the hardy hole. First of all, don't cuss at me like that. It's definitely not what you meant, but yes, I could put it in here, but I would end up screwing with a whole bunch of edges and stuff like that, because these are really sharp edges inside here. My goal is to be able to put it on here, hammer it, and keep everything profiled and smooth as we do it. Am I making it more complicated or harder on myself? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, now that I know that I can hold it up against it like this and hammer down in, I think I'll be fine. Because all we're trying to do is we're just trying to pinch it and draw it out, as opposed to have it be like a little bump. Now, of course, the whole point behind this was I was going to take and grind that finger choil, and I was going to bring it in a little bit, so it was going to come down and make it shorter, but you want me to pull it down so it's a little bit taller. And I think I can make something like that happen. Yeah, I think that's going to end up working as we do this. Just keep pulling that section back. I think we'll get a little extra length out of it. Is it the fastest process? Nope. So I need to get it to about 3/8. I think I can make that happen. I left enough meat there to be able to do that. And by doing this, we'll end up with just a smidge more blade length. So what I was going to do is I was going to grind away from the back side on the finger choil side and make it steeper and all that stuff. I was going to come in and grind on this section here and make it to where it was thinner. But now we can possibly bring this section down a little bit more, and I think it'll work out real well. I mean, I could do that. I could always suggest stuff. And if I think it'll make good content, I'll make it happen. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. Right now, we are almost 3/8 of an inch. We are right in between 1/4 of an inch and 3/8. But we only got to go a little bit, we'll be good. Half of the live stream projects were stuff I suggested. Yes, they were. They were either suggested or I saw something that you made and I was like, I want to make something like that. And then I ended up making something like that, doing my own version of it. There's a lot of awesome makers out there, so I would say if you're going to suggest them, maybe suggest them in the Discord so that you can actually post pictures of what you think I should work on and go from there. I will tell you this, when it comes to viral ability or videos that get, like live streams that get the most views, a lot of them are things that I just randomly decided to make that day. Most of the ones that have the most views are things that were just like, today I'm just going to make this random thing that probably doesn't make any sense. And I make that, most of those get around 20,000 views and all of that. So if y'all are going to suggest something that is cool, but I'm not going to forge like a scythe on a live stream. So, you know, makers that I think do cool stuff, I'll make those things. I liked mule stuff. I was like, that's right up my wheel. I love those designs. They're simple, classic. Looks like something I would carry. So that right there is a tab. And this little old guard. So that is 3/8 of an inch right there. I think the only thing that I'm going to do to it now is I'm going to slightly profile it a little bit more. Simple and functional is what I'm aiming for. I agree. I like that. How the iron works. Really unique style. Yeah, so typically the stuff that I'm looking for is something that I can forge in that like 2.5 hour mark, 2.5 to 3 hours if it's a sword or something like that. I want to make sure that I can actually still do everything that I want to do. But yeah, I'm also going to be live streaming at the Renaissance Fair whenever I go and do that stuff too. So y'all will get to see me do some of those things with people and all that. It's going to be fun. It's not your normal teaching people how to forge. It's like teaching, or it's like, you know, people that almost never touched a hammer in their life are coming to swing a hammer at things with 2 hands. And yeah, it's a blast watching people do it. But y'all will get to see that too whenever I get to that point. That's going to be coming up in a couple of months. But yeah, most of the stuff just needs to be within a certain time frame. I was hoping that I would be able to. Let's see if I need to grab it here. Yep. Okay, I think that's good there before my phone dies. I think we can call it right there because I think my phone's about to die here any minute now. So that is our profile. We got our tab forged in. I'll go through and of course clean this up probably tomorrow. But I think that right there accomplishes what we were trying to do with being able to forge in a swedge, profile, have the tab, our finger choil, slight curve to the handle, rounded backside. That is 3/8 of an inch pulled out right now.